Picture a silver bird that could outrun a thunderstorm, dive through a hurricane, and still land with the precision of a surgeon. In the early 1960s, a handful of engineers whispered that such a machine could exist, and the world would never be the same. How could a nation still nursing the wounds of a recent war conjure an aircraft that would dominate the skies for generations? The answer lies not just in metal and thrust, but in a daring gamble on technology, politics, and human courage. The story begins in a desert workshop, where a brilliant yet controversial designer stared at a sketch and declared that the limits of speed, altitude, and maneuverability could all be shattered. That bold claim set a chain of events in motion that would push an entire industry to its breaking point. Have you ever felt a spark of an idea that seemed impossible at first? I remember sketching a model airplane as a kid and dreaming it could break the sound barrier. Now, let's peel back the clouds and see what made this fighter jet the unrivaled champion of the air. The backdrop was a world split in two, each side racing to out-engineer the other. In the United States, the launch of a satellite that could circle the globe in 90 minutes sparked a feverish belief that the heavens were the next frontier of rivalry. At the same time, Soviet pilots were showing off a new generation of swept-wing jets that could vanish into the sky at unheard-of speeds. The Pentagon realized that if America fell behind, its very deterrent would crumble. Funding flowed like a river, and a secret competition erupted among the country's top aircraft manufacturers. The chosen consortium was given a terrifying deadline: build a plane that could exceed Mach 2, climb to 30,000 feet in less than a minute, and carry a payload that would make any enemy think twice. The pressure was immense. Failure meant not only a loss of prestige but a possible shift in the balance of power. Does the urgency of a race ever make you work harder than you thought possible? This crucible of urgency forged a project that demanded every ounce of ingenuity and resolve from those involved. At the heart of the venture stood a man whose name would become synonymous with aerospace audacity. He had already earned a reputation for daring designs that flouted conventional wisdom, and now he was tasked with turning fantasy into steel. His secret? An aircraft that would combine the raw power of a rocket engine with the finesse of a glider's wing. He proposed a slender, delta-shaped fuselage that could slice through shock waves, coupled with twin engines that could throttle from subsonic cruise to afterburner fury in seconds. Critics warned that the design would be unstable, that the heat of a sustained high-speed flight would melt the skin, and that the electronics would short out at altitude. Yet he pressed on, insisting that a new alloy, an exotic mix of titanium and nickel, could survive the inferno, and that a revolutionary digital flight control system could keep the aircraft steady even when the pilot's instincts would falter. The engineering team worked around the clock, testing scale models in wind tunnels where gusts reached 200 miles per hour, and each failure only sharpened their resolve. Have you ever pushed a project forward despite naysayers? Their relentless pursuit turned an impossible blueprint into a tangible prototype. The first time the prototype roared down the runway, the ground crew held their breath as if the plane might simply dissolve. Engines ignited, thrust spooled, and the aircraft surged forward, breaking the sound barrier in a thunderous clap that echoed across the desert. Inside, the pilot felt a pressure that squeezed his chest, yet the digital control system kept the aircraft locked on course, smoothing the violent forces that once would have thrown a human into chaos. As it climbed, the cockpit filled with a faint blue glow, an indication that the new alloy was holding up against temperatures hotter than a furnace. Yet the real test came at 40,000 feet, where the air thinned, and even the strongest steel can become brittle. The plane went into a steep climb, then dropped into a steep dive, pushing its structural limits. Data streamed back showing that the airframe flexed within safe margins, and the engines kept delivering power without faltering. Did you ever watch a test flight and feel the mix of fear and awe? Those milestone flights proved that the dream was no longer science fiction. They confirmed that the aircraft could survive the extremes that had felled earlier attempts. The project's success was not only measured in meters per second but also in the shifting sands of politics. Midway through development, a change in administration threatened to cut funding, arguing that the escalating costs, over $300 million, a staggering sum at the time, could not be justified. Lobbyists and veterans argued that without this jet, the United States would be forced to rely on older, less capable aircraft, leaving its pilots vulnerable. In a tense congressional hearing, the lead engineer presented a flight video showing the jet executing a maneuver that no existing fighter could match, a vertical climb that seemed to defy gravity. The visual evidence swayed skeptics, and the program secured a final infusion of money. Simultaneously, an unexpected diplomatic episode unfolded. A covert mission required the jet to fly over hostile territory to gather intelligence. The aircraft's ability to outrun radar and climb beyond the reach of surface-to-air missiles proved its worth in real combat scenarios, even before official deployment. Can political pressure ever spark unexpected innovation? These episodes demonstrated how technical triumphs can ripple into geopolitical arenas, cementing the aircraft's place not just as a machine, but as a strategic asset that reshaped international negotiations. When the jet entered service, pilots described the experience as riding a bolt of lightning. Its unprecedented speed and agility forced rival air forces to re-evaluate their own fleets, spurring a wave of new designs that borrowed heavily from its innovations. The digital flight control system, once a novelty, became a standard component across modern combat aircraft, ushering in an era where computers assisted human reflexes in the most demanding environments. Moreover, the exotic alloy pioneered for the jet found applications in medical implants and deep-sea submersibles, proving that a breakthrough in aerial warfare could ripple into everyday technology. The jet's record-breaking climb to 35,000 feet in less than 40 seconds inspired a generation of engineers to think beyond incremental improvements, encouraging bold, holistic redesigns rather than patchwork fixes. In the civilian world, the same aerodynamic principles were adapted for high-speed commercial planes, shortening transatlantic flight times by hours. Did you ever notice how a military advance eventually shows up in your daily life? Thus, a single fighter jet not only dominated skies but also accelerated progress in fields as varied as materials science, computer engineering, and commercial aviation, illustrating how a leap in one arena can cascade across the globe. Despite its celebrated legacy, popular culture has spun several myths around the aircraft. Some claim it never saw combat, that it was merely a propaganda tool. In fact, its first real engagement occurred during a crisis in the Middle East, where its ability to intercept enemy bombers at altitude prevented a potential civilian catastrophe. Others argue that its performance relied solely on raw engine power, ignoring the subtle interplay of aerodynamics and computer assistance that made it a true masterpiece. The digital control unit, often dismissed as a black box, actually translated pilot inputs into micro-adjustments of wing surfaces within milliseconds, granting stability that would have been impossible for a human alone. Additionally, the notion that the jet's success was inevitable overlooks the many near-fatal setbacks, a fuel leak that could have exploded on the runway, a miscalibrated sensor that threatened to send the aircraft into a catastrophic stall, and a supply chain disruption that delayed a critical component for months. Each crisis was a crossroads where the program could have faltered, yet decisive leadership and relentless troubleshooting kept it on course. Have you ever watched a legend unfold and discovered the hidden mishaps behind it? These stories remind us that behind every legend lies a tapestry of risk, error, and perseverance. From a daring sketch on a desert table to a symbol of aerial supremacy, the journey of America's premier fighter jet illustrates how vision, urgency, and unyielding grit can reshape the world. It taught us that pushing the boundaries of speed and altitude requires more than brute force, it demands imagination, collaboration, and the courage to fail forward. The ripple effects still reverberate in today's aircraft, in the materials that keep us safe, and even in the algorithms that guide autonomous drones. As we look to the future of flight, the lesson remains clear: the greatest achievements arise when we dare to imagine the impossible and then build it, piece by painstaking piece. If this story sparked your curiosity about how engineering feats change history, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments below, perhaps name another technology that transformed our world, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dive documentaries that reveal the hidden stories behind humanity's greatest inventions.